What's up, YouTube friends? My name's Danny Jones, and welcome to Jones Vibes.
Jones Vibes.
First and foremost, thank you so much for clicking on this video, and if you enjoy it, please go ahead and click that Demigorgon button, like button, and then go ahead and click subscribe as well as hit that notification bell. That'll keep you up to date when I make more content. And welcome, my friends, to the first meeting of the Hellfire Club. I'm happy you're here because this week we are talking about Stranger Things Season 4, Volume 1. And my god, it's finally here and it rules. But before we head to the Upside Down, I do have to tell you, this is a spoiler review. If you haven't finished the first 7 episodes of Season 4, close that gate and stop watching right now. And start watching Stranger Things. And if you have seen it, like me... Whoa, what's happening? Whoa, I guess we're in. And look, first, I feel like I just need to get out my shadow monster and kind of pour out my feelings about this show. I think that what the Duffer Brothers have achieved with Stranger Things is simply incredible. It is the best television show on streaming right now, and I think it's the best property as a whole that we've gotten since Breaking Bad. You know, Season 1 was a quick binge, but it was just so unique. I just loved how the show was about kids, but it was telling a story that was so dark and deep. It's a beautiful blend of Steven Spielberg and Stephen King and maybe even like a little John Carpenter or John Hughes. And some of the shots, especially in that first season, are reminiscent of like The Goonies, but with a horror twist. It's also just a great generational study of the 80s, and it's continued to do so. It's been really fun being placed into each year as a time period, and you see the style change ever so slightly. I'm talking about that Jerry curl. And every season has remained constant. You know, Season 3 left me absolutely floored by the end of it. It got so emotional and real with the character of Billy. He was such a phenomenal villain, and I just love how they fleshed out his arc over the span of 2 seasons just to have it kind of come to this big culmination. And that's what the Duffer Brothers are so good at. And that's how you tell a story. By tactfully connecting the dots and keeping these little plot threads running. A lot of the little storylines take a while to manifest, but then you look back a couple seasons and you're like, oh. And every character is so important. But the best part about it is they're important until they're not, if that makes sense. Characters can be killed off. You know, Barb and Bob. Bob, why? Why? But leading into this season, I feel like I was really excited, but also a little nervous, which I totally shouldn't have been, but it's like, are they really going to deliver again? Like, season after season? And the answer to that is absolutely 100% yes. We got through the first 7 episodes over the weekend as quick as one can with a show like this. And my initial reaction is that this was one of the best seasons of television that I've ever seen. No joke. And I mean, even if the last 2 episodes were somehow a letdown, which they won't be, this season would still be a massive success to me. It is darker, bloodier, scarier, and funnier than ever before. And we find our new Dungeons & Dragons villain with Vecna in this season, which I'll talk more about, but it somehow manages to up the ante and recapture that magic. It's amazing. And we start off with all of our characters in different places. Joyce, Elle, Will, and Jonathan have all now moved to California, and then Mike, Dustin, Lucas, and Max are all still in Hawkins, along with Steve and Robin and Nancy. Hopper is also alive, and he is in Russia. He was captured at the end of Season 3, and they walk us through that, and they also caught us all up on what happened to him. Murray Bowman is also still in the mix, and he is funnier than ever this season. I don't know whether some of it's improv or a lot of it's just the writing, but it was hysterical this season. And I forgot Lucas's sister, Erica Sinclair, is back as well, and her role kind of just keeps getting bigger and bigger in the show. But then we do have, once again, some newcomers. I mean, this show does do a good job at always introducing new characters every season. First off, we have Argyle, casual Die Hard reference there. Don't know if anybody else caught that, but he is Jonathan's kind of like stoner California friend, and I really enjoyed him. I thought he was really funny. But then we have the fan favorite and leader of the Hellfire Club, Eddie Munson. And this dude slays. He really does, and he kind of steals every moment that he has on screen. But there are a lot of things, Stranger Things, to talk about this season. So I'm just going to break it up kind of by storyline and then give my thoughts about where we end up. And why not just start in Hawkins? And we start with our main characters, and they're a little divided. Lucas is now just ballin' and hitting game winners on the basketball team, which is dope. And I thought I heard Mike Breen in there somewhere.
Lucas for the lead! Bang! Bang!
But he's kind of struggling to choose between his new basketball friends and his old friends, his best friends. Also, him and Max are broken up now. We didn't really see that happen, but we kind of see how all that works out. Mike and Dustin are also fellow members of the Hellfire Club, and I really loved in the first episode the scene of all of them playing. I just love D&D as a whole. Like, it's just so much fun to see just how creative and just how much fun it is to play. But gosh, we're having a ton of fun, and then it just gets so creepy and scary. All of a sudden, these Nightmare on Elm Street type deaths start happening, and we get this Freddy Krueger-esque villain. We're shown this girl Chrissy throughout like the whole first episode, and she kind of showcases this introduction to Vecna. And she goes over to Eddie's, and in the real world, all of a sudden she goes into like a trance, and she's lifted up into the air, and her body gets all twisted, and then like her jaw breaks, and her eyes like get sucked into her head. I was like, oh! And what a way to start this season. But this happens to a few others, and it was a brilliant way to slowly but surely, over the course of 4 episodes pretty much, introduce you to the big bad. Because we see how these kids are affected, we see the symptoms that they have, the headaches, and kind of how it all happens until it starts happening to Max. And that hits home. She's one of the main characters, you know. And it all comes together in episode 4, titled Dear Billy, which, I don't know, either episode 4 or 7 are my favorite episodes. I don't know, but Dear Billy was so good. It really pulled on the heartstrings. And I think we can all agree that Sadie Sink was phenomenal. She knocks it out of the park. Like, she has a couple monologues. The last one at Billy's grave, I mean, that is a long monologue. The camera is just like right here the whole time. I mean, I don't know. She really did a great job. But the way that Vecna messes with these kids in these nightmares, and then all of a sudden they shoot up into the air, it's so crazy. And then all of a sudden when it happens to Max, you're like, no! And the way all of that unfolds was beautiful. Like, she somehow kind of escapes Vecna, but we're shown this huge, like, upside down kind of layer that he has, and it's bright red, and there's all of these clocks, and it just aesthetically, it was so frightening. And then all of the flashbacks that Max goes through, like with Billy and Lucas and all the friends, and, you know, kind of busting out of there and snapping out of it and dropping down. It was phenomenal, not to mention the music. It was just so intense. But sticking in Hawkins, then we also have, like, we have Nancy, and there's this kind of tension between Nancy and Steve now. Things with Jonathan are, you know, like 2,000 miles away, and also just like a little weird right now. And I don't really know who I'm rooting for in that arena. Probably Steve. He's got the hair. So, but also Steve and Dustin do get some quality time, which is something that I think everybody just wants at this point. And the mystery that all of them are investigating is basically just a horror movie. And the whole town thinks that Eddie is a murderer, and so they're getting like their pitchforks, and they think he's like this cultist leader guy. One of my favorite lines is actually delivered by, what was his name? Jason Carver. And his character says, "How do you expect to stop the devil if you don't believe he's real?" And that's just good writing. But we have multiple gates opening where each young character has died, and also this mystery surrounding Victor Creel's family. And he's played by none other than Freddy Krueger himself, Robert Englund. Gosh, I love the Nightmare on Elm Street stuff. It's so cool. But let's move on. Let's get to the stuff in Russia. Hopper is locked in prison in Russia. And it's also the home of a Demogorgon, so perfect. The man with no face from Game of Thrones, he shows up, which was pretty tight. And then we have this subplot of all this with Murray and Joyce that's kind of like this this buddy action comedy. There's this pilot Yuri that they're playing off of, and it's just funny. The whole thing was funny. And like I said, there's this Demigorgon, and so we have this like brutal battle that we're leading up to, and it ends up happening, and it's crazy. It's down in this courtyard, and he just rips everybody apart. Like, he chomps on this guy's head. Like, it was just... Ugh. It kills everyone except for Hopper and his guard buddy. But it was big action, and we end with Hopper and Joyce reuniting and embracing, and that's kind of where we leave off. So, it was simple, but honestly, it was a great little side plot that was happening. But now back to California. Mike comes to visit for spring break, and they even say, they're like, this is going to be the best spring break ever. And when they said that, I was like, this isn't going to be good. But more importantly, we get to 11. And she's been being bullied, which is kind of a theme of the season, because after being arrested for just wrecking this chick with a roller skate, she is like broken out of custody by Owens. And then we get the big reveal that Dr. Brenner is alive. I knew it. And I love this. Like, it was briefly mentioned in season 2, if you caught it. And so I had a feeling he was definitely alive, but it was so reminiscent of the first season. Seeing those two together on screen, especially with her shaved head, was a lot of fun. But we start getting all of these flashbacks of her when she was a child with all of the other children, and she does get bullied there. She's kind of picked on. And they're trying to help her process all of this to get her powers back. And so we're walking through these memories, and we're introduced to this friendly, orderly guy who kind of befriends her and is looking after her. Some have also called him Grindelwald. He's also Caius in Twilight. And he's also from Sweeney Todd, if you remember that. He sings that song that, I'll steal you, Joanna. This is awkward. But it turns out that this actor, Jamie Campbell Bower, is number 1. And let's freaking go. In episode 7, we have this big reveal that he's number 1, and then we also find out that he is the big bad villain, Vecna. He has this fantastic scene that lasts like 15 minutes, just kind of like walking through his upbringing, becoming number 1, and then how he becomes Vecna. He is the son of Victor Creel, and he's the best villain so far. And it turns out that he killed everybody, and not 11. And you kind of start thinking that maybe because you see the bodies all contorted in a certain way. So I honestly was thinking maybe it could be 11 or something. I don't know. But yeah, and then after this crazy like Harry Potter or like almost like Star Wars like force battle that they have, her energy is so powerful that she opens up a tear for the first time into the Upside Down. And she traps him in there. And I want to dive a little bit deeper into this. He stays there and he can somehow tap in to different teens and people in the town and tap into their trauma. And he uses that to like connect himself to our world. Like, it is so insane. But my question is, how does this connect to like the Mind Flayer and to the Demigorgon and the Demodogs and all of that? I'm gonna have to watch it all again just to see if they kind of gave any of that info away, because it's just crazy. Like, they say he's like the general of the Mind Flayer and stuff, but he is really damn powerful. And I'm just excited to see him and 11 have some big battle again. I mean, it's going to be crazy. But past all that, we also still do have Mike, Will, Jonathan, and Argyle in their kind of stoner buddy comedy thing going on. It's actually an action comedy, and the action was really crazy. There's like this whole shootout at the buyer's house, and it was insane. But I'm also really curious how like all of them are going to fit into 11's story, especially now that they're heading there. And then how do we convince a whole town that Eddie isn't guilty of all these murders? What's gonna happen? It looked like Nancy was about to die, but I think she's gonna get away. She is still hypnotized though by Vecna, so we'll see what happens with that. And that's also another great question. Are they gonna kill off a main character? I think they definitely could, but if so, who is it gonna be? I have my theories, but maybe I'll make another video on that or something. I'm just so amped, and I can't wait till July 1st. It's just, yeah, can't come soon enough. But I am very curious what you all think. Please let me know down in the comments, because this was a lot. Did it live up to your expectations? Do you think a character is gonna die? Are you a fan of Stranger Things? Feel free to let me know. And also, if you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and click that like button for me. That helps me get seen by more people just like you, as well as hit subscribe. I would love to have you be a part of this Jones Vibes community. I'm also on social media at Jones Vibes Only, and yeah, I am so excited about these first 7 episodes of Stranger Things Season 4. I hope you all are safe, happy, and healthy, and I will see you next time.